And welcome back, everybody. ASAP Grim here. This is the conclusion, actually, of this EVE Online Chronicle. I know that probably sounds a little bit surprising because I didn't give any hint of that in the last episode, and in fact, it did sound like we had other things to do, and we do. But I want to show you something. Let's open up EveMon. Go to our character, open up that plan that we made. Okay, we're doing electronic upgrades 4 right now. We got 2 days left on that. Shield upgrades 4, another 3 days. Tactical shield manip 4, 6 days. Drones 5 is 9 days. I think I'll probably go Minmatar drone specialization. And then light drone ops 5 is 9 days. That's got us at 30 days. 3 hours and 27 minutes. So we're a long ways out from having this training plan completed. And I feel like I kind of already accomplished the main thing I wanted to do, which was to get into a Gnosis and do missioning and see how that all works. I also feel like I was able to learn a lot. There's a lot to learn in EVE, and I have a lot more to learn, but I learned quite a bit through trial and error doing the missioning experience. I did get the Gnosis fitted out. We have a lot of room to grow yet in that area. But I just think that with 30 days of training time left, this is a good point to go ahead and close this particular chronicle, and we may open a second chronicle in the future on the same guy, or maybe even doing a new alpha going through exploration. But I also have some impressions here, and I think like you understand, I'm trying to make a draw an inference off of incomplete information, but I think I have enough info to say this actually probably might be even kind of obvious, but I think I have enough info at hand to say that EVE Online, it's not a lone wolf kind of game. Even if you want to be a Care Bear and you just really want to mess with PvE stuff and stay in high security, there's going to be a point, I think, that we reach where we really need people that we can run with, whether that's getting missions done fast enough to raise ISK quickly enough to really be able to do anything in this game, or whether it's for protection, because you're not likely going to get attacked in 0.8, 0.9, or 1.0 space, but you might in 0.5, 0.6, maybe 0.7. You might. And if you're on your own, I mean, there's enough people out there. It's like what I said earlier in the game. There are so many people out there that their whole life, their real life, is just pressure and stress and frustration. And MMOs and being kind of a camper in an MMO, or a griefer, where you grief people, has become what in the 30s or 40s used to be the punching bag down in the cellar. You need an outlet to get all that anger and frustration out. And even, and as bad as it is, sometimes punishing somebody else and giving them a bad day, it just makes you feel better. I don't know. That's the best that I can ascertain. I don't really tick that way myself, but I want to be careful not to demonize people who do. It's just a component. It's a real part of EVE, and if you cannot deal with that, you don't need to be playing EVE. So I think that in this game, you really do have to fleet up at some point in time. You need to get into a corporation. You need to work with people. I think the whole game pushes you towards that. And so if we do future chronicles, that probably is going to be something that I'm really seriously thinking about. It's just, I don't know. I'm not apologizing for it. I have no explanation for why, but I'm just I did the MMO thing, man. That's not why I play games. And I don't want to really record something where I've got 15 people on chat and I can't really control what's said and what's not said and have that on my channel. You can see here, I have some reservations about that. I really just prefer to kind of play on my own. And so, I don't know. We'll have to see what the future holds. But right now, because of that, this is what I would say. If you are a lone video gamer, if you play video games to unwind from the rigors and stresses of being around people at work all day or just in general in life, and video games is kind of where you go to get away from everything and just sort of relax, and you want to play against the environment and beat the puzzles and play the computer, I think Elite Dangerous is probably more up your alley. And right now, self-assessment, I think that's probably more up my alley because I think that's the kind of gamer I am. And I do have to think about it because there is a social aspect to gaming that I have enjoyed in the past. I liked being in a guild in World of Warcraft. I more enjoy the cooperative aspect of taking on a huge complex task with other people where you have to coordinate with each other. I like the teamwork aspect. But if you're the type that let me set it up this way. I once read something that said it compared introverts and extroverts to batteries, and it said the introvert, the person who does not like being super social all the time, it doesn't mean they're antisocial. Okay. An introvert, when they go out and hang out with people, it's typically in smaller groups than what an extrovert does, but it can be in larger groups. But either way, when you're out in a social environment, you're expending your battery energy. And when you get off by yourself, you're recharging. For an extrovert, so introverts we often label as antisocial. Extroverts we often label as social butterflies. If you're an extrovert, it's the opposite. When you are isolated and on your own, you're expending your energy. When you get around others, you recharge. And that's the difference right there. You can practically cut the world right in half, the world population right there, and on how personalities, which road they go down, right? And so if you are an extrovert where you come home and the way for you to relax is to be sociable and be around people and be cooperative in your efforts, or the other thing I said, where you come home and you're just angry and frustrated and ticked off because your job either stinks and you hate it and you hate life, or it's high pressure and you have kind of no pity or remorse for others around you because you need to be in a highly competitive mode all the time. Again, not throwing shade. Every personality type out there has pluses and minuses to it, and it's up to the individual on how they pursue life as to whether that's done in what we would call a good way or what we would call a bad way. Okay. But if you're ultra competitive and the PvP game is your thing, PvE is boring. That's for Care Bears. If you think of Care Bears in a kind of a pejorative manner, right, and you look down your nose at Care Bears, EVE Online is probably going to be more your style. Elite Dangerous has that aspect to it in the open world, but I don't think it's near on the scale that EVE Online is. EVE Online seems to be built around PvP. And so I think that's where I would split the two. And I wanted to get that out there because I am not guaranteeing that I'll have another EVE Online Chronicle. I like the game. I think I will, but I have so much to learn in Elite Dangerous, and because that seems to align up with me more, I think I'd rather learn that game, and then maybe come back to EVE Online. But who knows what will happen? I can't. I'm not making promises either way. I'll leave it up to when. If I feel like doing another Chronicle on EVE Online, then I'll do that. But at any rate, I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. I hope that you got some practical things out of this, particularly in the beginning whenever I set up the skill plans and stuff like that. Hopefully that helps. And then for the rest of you, that this was simply kind of entertaining, maybe reminded you of how things went when you first started playing EVE or whatever it is. And in all seriousness, wherever you're at in the world, and whatever you got going on, I hope things are working out for you. This is a topsy-turvy earth that we live in, and it's not like you can be friends with everybody. There's going to be serious differences of opinion on serious things. So I'm not so idealistic as to wish that everybody does okay. If there's a guy out there who's a dictator of a country just absolutely stamping his people into oblivion, I don't hope that guy has a good day. Right. But for most people that would be watching something like this, I can honestly say from the bottom of my heart, I hope things are going well for you. And if they are not, man, I'll give 2 points here. This really has nothing to do with video gaming. I'm kind of surprised that I'm going to even go there with this, but I'm following my instincts. Number one, stand in the fire. Tomorrow's another day. You have to find outlets, go different places, change up your routine, change your scheme, how you're doing things. If you're really down in the dumps and you're thinking some horrible thoughts like you're going to hurt yourself or others, change your routine up and force yourself as a sort of last shot to just do things differently, because what has to happen is you got to get outside of the bubble that you're living in. This happens to everybody. We get saturated by, we call it an echo chamber, sometimes, or you're saturated by what you're seeing day to day, but life is so much bigger than that, and different people have different perspectives and views on things. And if you don't stretch your horizons, you're not giving yourself a shot. And so the second thing is, and I've learned this through experience actually, if you're in a really bad spot psychologically, these things can have physiological effects. If you're noticing that you're having to remind yourself to breathe, or you're not blinking, because your autonomous functions are sort of not working right because you're so depressed. One of the things that I really think, I'm not a psychologist, I don't have proof for this. I don't have clinical proof for it, but I don't have an explanation for why this works, because to me, in a lot of ways, it seems like it's the opposite of how you would think it would work. But if things are miserable for your life, I would really strongly suggest go downtown and serve at a soup kitchen for a minute. Volunteer to pass out jackets or hand out food or water to the homeless. Go and do something like that, because I think what happens is, number one, I don't want this to sound mean. It happens to everybody, but it will get your focus off of yourself, which is something that if you're in this kind of a spot that I've been describing, that's something you need. You're already focusing everything. All you're doing is regurgitating. You're just eating that glass all over every day, again and again and again. You need to get out and get your attention on other people that need a lot of help. And the second thing that does is it makes you feel worthwhile. So I'm really stunned that I ended this chronicle with this kind of a message. But I think once I started with, hey, if things are going wrong for you, then I felt like I should say this. And so I hope that those tips can reach somebody out there, that if you're at the end of your rope, try doing some of these things and see if that doesn't help. Helping others will give you a sense of self-worth, and that's oftentimes one of the things that you're really seriously struggling with if you're at the bottom of the barrel, so to speak, And so there it is. I'll leave it at that, and that'll wrap up our EVE Online. That might be a little bit of why I was talking about that too, because EVE Online's a very harsh environment, and you can't cry about it. You got to understand what the circumstances are and operate within that, right? And so anyway, that'll end this chronicle. And again, I hope everybody's doing well, and I wish you the best. I am Aesop Grimm. Thank you for coming by the channel and checking things out. I hope you enjoyed your stay here. And I won't say I'll see you in the next episode, but I will say I have other chronicles on the channel where the story, not this story, but the story continues. Y'all take care. Thanks for visiting Aesop Grimm's Chronicles. If you've made it this far in the video, please consider rating, commenting, subscribing, and sharing. I hope to see you in the next episode, and until then, stay shiny.